Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of RV Quick Tips with Mike, your #1 how-to source for all things RV. Hey, today's a special edition because it may not be an RV Quick Tips, it might be an RV Quick Lists. We're going to be talking about some key things that you need to stock your RV toolkit. Items that I recommend that you have along every time you leave the house on an RV trip, and then we'll go into some things that it's a good idea to have but may not be required. So let's get started. You've heard the old saying that you can fix anything with baling wire and duct tape. Always have some duct tape along. You never know what you're going to need to secure, wrap up, repair a hose, and that kind of thing. Have some tape. I also always have electrical tape for electrical connections. Good idea to have a roll of electrical tape along as well. A lot of times when you're setting up, you're going to be setting up in the dark. It's going to be after dark, hard to find your way around. It's a good idea to have a headband light. That way, put this thing up here, you have your hands free to be doing whatever you need to be doing, find your way around after dark. Gloves, of course, unloading, loading things, protect your hands. Always need something to drive a stake in the ground. The added benefit of an axe is you can split some firewood. It's good for self-defense, whatever you need. Good idea to have one of these handy. Ratchet tie downs. I always have to have a ratchet tie down. I could do a whole series on uses of these as well. Secure your awning arms when you're stowing things for travel. Lots of uses of ratchet tie downs. Basic tools. Have a screwdriver with multiple drivers in it. It's a good idea to go around your RV and find out what the screw heads and fasteners are, so you have a driver that will fit that, whether it's a star bit, a square bit, standard Phillips, flat, whatever. That way, if you need to tighten up any of the fittings in the RV, you've got this handy. Pliers of some sort. I like the channel locks because they're flexible. You can get onto different sizes of fittings. If you're going to have one pair of pliers, I like to have channel locks. I like to have more than this, but if it's one, bring some channel locks. Tire gauge. Don't leave home without a tire gauge. The very first thing you should do before you leave on a trip is go around and check your tire pressure. Have this handy. I usually have 3 or 4 of these laying around, one in my toolbox, one in the truck, so that I always have a tire gauge handy. Squeaks, rattles, and rolls. If you have an RV, you're going to have squeaks. Doors opening and closing, drawers, steps. It's a good idea to keep your steps lubricated. I like these small versions of WD-40 or another lubricating brand. Doesn't take up a lot of room in the toolbox, and always have it handy. A knife or a utility knife of some sort. This is a cool one because not only is it a traditional utility knife, but it's got this bad boy too. So you never know when you're going to need to cut something, score something at the campsite. It's good to have a good quality knife. This isn't really a toolbox item, but something I always have is a blue tarp, or 2 or 3. You can use it as a blanket. You can use it to cover your bicycles at night and keep them dry. You can use this to gather up firewood and carry it. And you can use it to just, a sunscreen on the side of your patio. Lots of uses for a blue tarp. Extension cords, never have enough. Every time I think I have enough, I need more. Take at least a few good quality outdoor extension cords, and you'll see how I have these things fastened. I love these things too. These can be used for a lot of things. Tying up cords like this on your awning arm, you can come over here and wrap lights up with them and secure them. Very handy. Now, moving on to some things that really aren't necessarily essential, but a super good idea to have. If you back up into a campsite and you've got trees leaning up against the side of your RV, it's an interstate highway for bugs to get into your RV. I always have one of these guys so I can get out there and cut a few branches off. Some campgrounds get a little bit grumpy if you get too aggressive with that, so be careful, don't go crazy. But if there's a piece of a limb leaning on your RV, I'll hop up there, cut this. You can also use it for cutting firewood and those kinds of things. Good idea to have one of these. You see this, I always like to have drivers, depending on my RV, for items that I'm going to need. And in this case, if I've got one of the smaller Jaycos with manual stabilizing jacks, I've got a 3/4 inch driver on here so that I can zip those stabilizing jacks up and down without having to crank them by hand. You may have other needs for this as well, but it's a good idea to have one of these handy. And I'll go ahead and mention this while I'm talking about that. To have different drivers and so on, I carry along a small socket set that's got both metric and SAE in here. You can buy these kits at big box hardware stores. It's got a lot of the things that you're going to need, including duplicating some things that I already talked about. That way, if I'm going to need to work on a bicycle or something like that, I've got the tools that I need right here to get that done. And along those lines, this is another option too. I've got open end wrench set, both again metric and SAE. Again, if I'm working on a bicycle or a scooter, kids' toys and that kind of thing, got everything I'm going to need right here. I don't know if I mentioned bungees. You can't have enough of these. Again, if you're securing things for travel at the campsite, I use bungees all the time. Moving into the toolbox itself. It's good to have this. We've talked about this in our plumbing videos in the past when you hook up your to the water spigot at your RV park. This way you can split off into water supply for your RV and one for washing off the dog or whatever. Always have that handy. Vice grips, huge fan of these. That way you can lock down on something and tighten the other end. Wire cutters, good idea to have some wire cutters. Tire gauge, I keep a heavy duty tire gauge, and I talked about the other one in here. Again, I always have multiple tire gauges along with me. Allen wrenches. A lot of times bicycles, scooters, kids' toys are going to have Allen wrenches, so I keep these hex head Allen wrenches handy. Again, both metric and SAE in case I need them. Coming into here, tarp clips. This is a handy hint I found. A lot of times when you've got your tarp or even the edge of the awning and you need to hang something from it and there's not a grommet where you need it, you can buy these little tarp clips that'll fit on the edge of your tarp like so, and then you've got another latching point to tie it down. Use these all the time. Hose clamps, if you need a repair on the road, got a leaky hose, always a good idea to have a couple hose clamps of different sizes. I keep some extra light bulbs in here just in case. Got another pocket knife in here. Got this stretchy repair tape for leaks in hoses in case I need it. Not required, good idea. Drawer number 2. You're always going to have a campfire at a campsite and an RV park. I don't smoke, but these are handy to start fires with. Always keep some matches in here too. Fuses. Get a kit of fuses with different sizes. That way, if you ever have a fuse blows, you've got some extra fuses to change in your fuse panel. Make sure if it didn't come with a fuse puller, you have that. Makes the job a lot easier. I always keep those in here. I've got some miscellaneous things in here. Like I said, make sure you have the appropriate bit for your screwdriver. In my case, in my RV, I have a lot of star bits. Got a star bit handy here. Got some different sized ones in here, just in case I need them. Always have a bicycle along on our trips, so I have a bicycle tire repair kit. Something, it's got tools in here so I can pop the tire off, change a tube. Handy to have that. This is another bicycle tool, repair tool, handy to have. I have some stakes in here in case I need to stake something down at the campsite. Adapter. So I can take a 30 amp plug and plug this into a household current plug. That way, if I'm ever out somewhere and for some reason I don't have 30 amp access for power, I have this and I can always at least plug into a household circuit, charge the batteries, run my refrigerator and those kinds of things. I have one of these along at all times. Zip ties. I know I could do a whole session on zip ties. I always keep zip ties in here. Again, for securing items together, hanging lights from an awning, lots of uses of zip ties. I'm a fan of having a multimeter along. That's a whole other how-to video in itself. handy to check voltage on your batteries, check circuitry and those kinds of things. Learn how to use the basic functions of a multimeter and you won't regret it. It'll save a call to a repairman a lot of times. I keep some cordage in here in addition to, bungee cords and that kind of thing. I may want to string up a line to dry some towels or clothes or whatever at the campsite, or maybe I need to cinch down some canopy arms with some rope or cordage. It's always a good idea to have this handy. When it comes time to go home, you may need to pack some things together and wrap it up with rope. Good idea to have it. One final bonus tip that I'll say, and this isn't really a toolbox thing, but something I recommend. If you've never been locked out of your RV, you will be sometime, I promise. Take that extra key, get a magnetic holder, find a nice hiding place and pop it under here, or maybe don't do it there because now everybody's going to look right there. But find a hiding place for it. Doesn't even have to be one of these. It can be a hiding place of your choice. That way you've always got a key. You can always get back into the RV after you come back from a day of exploring and you're locked out, okay? I hope this is helpful. If you want more information and you want to be able to download a free list that covers all of these things, just click down in the description of this video and you can download a free list. Let us know. Check back here often. Happy to help. Make sure and join us for more RV Quick Tips with Mike, your #1 how-to source for all things RV.
Thanks for watching our video. If you have any questions, be sure to drop a comment below. Or if you have any suggestions on content you'd like to see, we'd love to hear about that. Go ahead and give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again from VOD RV.